and especially here at Knighthood too. You guys having a good time so far? Yeah. Good. I'm gonna tell you a story today, and it's about King Arthur, and it's particularly about how he came to get his round table that all the knights and all the ladies sat at. The story goes that King Arthur had just pulled the sword from the stone. He had recently married Guinevere, who was a princess and became his queen. And throughout his early career, one of the people that was always by his side was Merlin. And we learn about Merlin quite a bit in Knighthood 1. We don't talk about him as much in Knighthood 2, but he had a really important part in helping to develop this round table. When King Arthur had assumed the throne, and he had been coronated as king, he inherited a new kingdom. And this kingdom was something that his father, Uther Pendragon, had put together. And it involved really a lot of going around and trying to get different minor kings and different noblemen to buy into being a part of this new confederation that he was putting together. And sometimes that involved having to go get different kingdoms to stop fighting with each other. Sometimes it involved King Arthur having to fight the different noblemen himself because they didn't want to be a part of what they were trying to do to create peace for the land. And oftentimes it involved him, knights that had sworn their allegiance to King Arthur to have to go fight other knights that were swearing allegiance to different kingdoms. So it was kind of a mess. Where everybody was fighting for wanting to be on top and wanting to be the main king, and everyone was just more concerned about themselves than they were for the whole group as a whole, and the whole kingdom as a whole. And Merlin was trying to figure out how best to remedy this and how best to get people to work along together so they wouldn't fight with each other. He knew that ideally there would come a time where all the knights in the kingdom and all the ladies and all the kings and queens that had been involved in this area of land, they would have to come together and work together in order to solve the problems they had. Merlin knew that there was going to be a time of darkness that was going to be coming ahead, and that there was going to have to be a search for the Holy Grail to fix this darkness and to bring people together and to ultimately heal the kingdom of all these problems that everyone was having. And so what he wanted to do was he knew that according to the Grail legends that he had been familiar with, the Holy Grail existed, would come down to a place at what was known as a grail table, which was a round table, and it had 24 seats at it, one for the day and one for the night, for each hour of each day of the week. And so there was 12. And in each of these two-part sections for day and night also corresponded to one of the signs of the zodiac in the heavens. So he was studying the stars, and he was trying to bring all the stars together and their influences and have it manifest on the earth itself. And so he knew this is what the Grail table was supposed to look like. And one day he was, Merlin used to wander through the kingdom while everyone was at Camelot. He would kind of wander through the kingdom and get a feel for what people were talking about and make sure everyone was was appreciating what King Arthur and Queen Guinevere were doing, and make sure there weren't any major problems. And one day he came across, there was a race of giants that lived up in the mountains, not far from Camelot. And one of these giants had come down, and he had a giant cart that was full of all kinds of trees that they could use the logs from the trees to build new structures. And that's how this giant made his living. Was cutting down these giant trees and then bringing them down into town, and people would use the trees to make, new houses and that type of thing. Well, the giant had this giant cart with these giant wheels on it to carry the trees, and one point the cart broke down. One of the wheels broke on it. It shattered, and so it couldn't move anymore. It just had this one big wheel. And then Merlin got an idea. He said, he asked the giant, he said, "Can I take this good wheel and we'll make you 2 new ones?" And the giant was like, "Sure, that's a great deal. Why wouldn't I do that?" And so Merlin took the giant wheel, and he had the giant bring the wheel up into Camelot. And he said, "We're going to turn this wheel into a table." So he took the wheel and he fashioned it, put some legs on it. And King Arthur came and said, "What is this? What do you do with this giant wheel? Well, why are you making this table?" And Merlin said to Arthur, he said, "Arthur, times are changing. In the past, everybody was fighting for each other, and whoever was strongest would be the head of things. And even though you have Excalibur, even though you have the sword that you will always win in battle as long as your cause is just, and as long as you're using it for virtue and to bring people together, you will always win. So you are the strongest in the kingdom right now, as long as you hold that sword, and as long as you're living up to the truths and the virtues that the sword represents. But we need something that unites everybody together even more. And so I fashioned for you a round table. And this table is similar to the grail table. And all of your main knights and ladies are going to be able to sit at this table. And because it's round, everyone will be equal. And therefore, they won't fight with each other anymore. Well, Arthur thought this was a pretty good idea. And so this was when he decided, yes, we will create a new order, and we will be the knights of the round table. And so they fashioned the table, they got it decorated and painted and lacquered up, and so it didn't look like a wheel off of a cart anymore. And he painted it so that there would be just the number of spaces for all the knights and ladies. And so he had his 12 best knights and his 12 best ladies there, and they all represented different kingdoms. The other thing to keep in mind is that you have to remember that many of these knights and ladies, they came from very far away. They came from different cultures. They came from totally different backgrounds than King Arthur had. They came from different parts of the world. But they were all committed to trying to best make themselves better and trying to make the world better and trying to live in harmony with the world itself so that they could create peace all throughout the kingdom. King Arthur's kingdom had extended farther than any other king before. And it was because he was bringing in people from all different parts of the world. And they all had different backgrounds. And so they all looked at things a little differently, but they recognized the fact that they were all equal as long as they sat at this table. and that they were all committed to the same things. They were all striving for the same things. They all wanted to make themselves better, and they all wanted to make the world a better place. And they were all committed to this. So they fashioned this round table. Merlin got the table finished. They all came, they did a big ceremony. They all sat at it the first time. King Arthur gave a speech, and he said, "Knights and ladies, here you are at the round table. You are the representatives of a better world. It is your responsibility to change the world for the better, to change yourselves first, and then to change the world for a better. And because we're all committed to this, even though we come from different backgrounds, we come from different parts of the world, because we're all committed to this, we will create peace in Camelot. And we will create order in Camelot. And we will show people that in being our best selves, the whole kingdom will become better." So this was the foundation of the round table. And it was a totally new idea. Prior to this, everyone was just fighting with each other. But here they could come together and recognize each other. They could recognize the strengths in each other. They could help each other become better people. They could help each other make the world a better place. And that's how they became the Knights of the Round Table. It was because of this. Now, each of you come up to camp, and you're striving for the same things. You're striving to become better people, to embrace qualities and virtues that make camp a better place, that make your experience here together better. You support each other. You all stand together in supporting each other and loving each other and loving camp and trying to make everything better as a result of it. This is very different than how the rest of the world acts most of the time. Most of the world outside of camp, everybody's competing with each other, not to help everybody become better, but so that they can just get things for themselves. Most people are very selfish out in the world. But here at camp, think about how just changing our attitudes in terms of how we try to support each other and how we try to become better people. Doesn't it make camp just wonderful? You come up here to camp and you feel happy. You enjoy singing. You enjoy meeting new friends and new people because you know everybody up here is here for the same reason. They're here to have fun. They're here to support each other. And they're here to become better people and make camp a better place. And this is the way we need to be, not just here at camp, but after we leave camp into the world. Because the world needs your example. The things that you learn up here at camp, the things the values that you learn. Ken and Nancy Atkinson, who were my directors as I was coming up to camp, there was one thing that they used to always tell me. They said, the difference between camp and most of the real world is that we recognize that within every person, every child that comes up here, every counselor that comes up here, there's a seed or a spark of divinity within them. There's just a little bit of God within everybody. And in most of the world, that gets buried. And so it doesn't come out. But here at camp, we try to bring it out. We try to celebrate that within everybody. Because everybody has this special gift within them. Everybody has this thing in them, this spark of sacredness and of creativity and of all the virtues that we recognize here at camp. Those are all within everybody. You just have to be encouraged to come out. And so that's what we do here at camp. And really that is the epitome of what the Grail quest was all about. The Grail quest was trying to find that thing that connects you, that connecting point between you and something sacred and divine. And in that point, that connecting point is where all the goodness comes out of. And that's what changes the world. That's what makes camp so amazing. It's because we recognize that and we celebrate that. And we try to live it each day that we're here at camp. That's what causes camp to be changed into this amazing place that you want to come back to every year, where you feel safe and you feel recognized. And we celebrate your gifts. I mean, I looked at these wonderful songs that we had earlier, and the poetry, and the things that are being said here today. They're here to celebrate you. And they're here to celebrate your gifts and what you have to offer. And Geneva Glen Camp will always be here for that, for you. To celebrate who you really are. Not who the person is that you have to pretend to be in the world sometimes to survive, but rather the person who you really are. The person who has all of these virtues within you. And the person who can come up here and be free and have fun with your friends. Everybody up here is your friend. It's one of the few places you can go to in the world, and you know that every person that you meet up here is your friend, and who wants the best for you, and who wants to celebrate what you have to offer. So this is, if we bring just a little of this into the world, that's what changes the world. And if we keep this in mind, that's what changes us too. That's what causes us to strive to become better and to exhibit these virtues. So we all sit at a round table up here. You are all equally special. You are all equally have gifts that we want to see and we want you to share. You all equally have that special thing within you that we love. And I can honestly say, even if I've never met you before, I love every one of you. Because you are here. And you're choosing to spend your time here together. And you're choosing to change yourself for the better. And you're choosing to make camp an amazing place. And as long as you keep that in mind, Geneva Glen will always be here for people, all the way into the future. And it'll always be a place where these special qualities come out. And it'll always be that place that helps to change the world for the better. So that is the story of how the round table came to be. This was the intention behind the round table. And each one of you sit at this round table, whether you're on court right now or not. But we all sit at this round table. And by the way, if you look at this back banner back here, which was made a long time ago, you can see the Pendragon on it, but it's sitting on top of the round table. So it's that round table is always present in what we're doing. So, thank you all. There was a blessing. There was a blessing from Merlin that I'm going to pass on to you today. It was written in the old Arthurian text. And Merlin said, "May the light of joy, peace, and life be with you always." So that's the blessing from Merlin, and it's passed on to you today. So Enjoy the rest of Knighthood 2, and thank you for having me.